One of the first memories I have of going hunting was with my dad, my late grandfather, up Copper Canyon. And I was allowed to go when they weren't going to be hiking, so we could just drive around, look around in the mountains. And far back as I could remember, I love going in the mountains. I love hunting. I love fishing. Salmon, trout, salmon in the river or salmon in the ocean. But the memories I have, just are golden. I miss those times. I hunted with a lot of people that are gone, and those people that are gone shared some knowledge with me, some teachings. It's some of the stuff they shared with me. I carry it in my heart, and I pass on the information to if I'm mentoring somebody, like my daughter, or my nephews, or somebody. My teachings might be different from somebody else, slightly different from other people. Everybody has their way, but what really makes sense to me and what was shared with me was respect the resource. Always look after it. You want it there forever. You don't want to wipe it out. You don't want to overharvest. Do what you can to look after it. And again, this is what I was taught when I was younger. So it's always going to be a little bit different, but similar. Oh yeah, my traditional name is Sunkrinam. My grandfather Ben Thomas passed that down to me, and my first name is Kenneth, middle name Bruce Thomas, and I am from Penelakut tribe, which we have a reserve on near Crofton, where I pretty well grew up, between there and Ladysmith, and now I reside on Penelakut Island, formerly known as Cooper Island. Getting ready, in the morning, you're supposed to get up and thank the day. Thank the day, and get up. And when you get ready, you're supposed to. One of my uncles used to say, always, get up and stomp your feet. And that gets the drum beat out of your steps when you're walking. They said if you didn't do that, the deer will hear your steps. Your steps will be heavy all day, and have a hard time seeing them. Just the other day, I was reminded of, some teachings there were, the women in the house aren't supposed to sweep the floor or clean the house, because the old timers used to say when they do that, they're clearing the path for you. The animals won't be there because your wife or whoever's cleaning up the house and sweeping your path away. And I was joking around with my wife one time. I shared that with her, and I went out, and then I got home. The house was spotless, and I was just like, "Oh no, you cleaned up." And that's why I shared that teaching with her. What my uncles and my grandpa said was, "Yeah, you're not supposed to clean up while we're hunting," and shared that that teaching with her. Then the next time I went out, I come home and I had a 2 point. I had a nice little 2 point buck there, and I told her, "Yeah, I got a 2 point." She goes, "Good, because I didn't clean up or anything." So I call it superstition or coincidence or what, but something I believe in. Spiritually, just the just being thankful for the day, and you know, uh, wash up, go find a creek or a lake and wash up, and ask the water and the branches to cleanse you. You're, you know, rub a little bit of cedar boughs or fir boughs on your clothes to cover scent, so the deer won't smell you so easy. Again, I think a lot of it's chalked up to superstition, and people, don't hear these words anymore. I think and some elders are pretty surprised when I talk about it. They're, oh, you know that? I go, yeah. It's like I used to have elders that talk to me all the time about, cleansing yourself, spiritually. And the elements are always there. You can ask the wind, the rain to cleanse you when you're walking through the bush and things like that. Some traditional words that were shared, some teachings that were shared that seems like, not too many people talk about anymore. It's sad but true. It was not just one person. It was, my grandfather, Ben Thomas, my late father, Ken Thomas Sr., my late uncle, Herman Gibson, and they're pretty much all gone now. It wasn't just one person. It was taking a little bit of the teachings from people that were willing to share. And I don't know it all, but what little I do know, I cherish it, and I pass it on to whoever would like to listen, and whoever will carry it too. And the bottom line is being respectful of the resource, being respectful of the animals you're taking, and self-respect, and is some of the things I go by. I remember when my daughter and my nephew were younger, and they wanted to learn how to hunt. So what I told them, I says, go get your dictionary, look up the word respect, and what does it mean to you? So they come back and, slightly different answers out of both of them. It's amazing, but, they're on the right path where, and then I started building on that where, you respect the resource, you respect the land, and, everything has a spirit, and you respect it. It'll always be there for you. And you can't express the feeling I get when I see them to this day. It's 15 years, 14 years later, they're still doing that. And I'm still constantly reminding them, did you do this or did you do that? And we hunted some, we have endorsements for elk for our band. Just one story, just recently, took my nephew out. He pretty much grew up with my daughter. And we went out, and I haven't hunted with him for a little while, a couple of years. And we ended up harvesting an elk for the band and filled out the paperwork and, talked about, remember the respect. And, and he was respectful. He, covered everything up, the guts and stuff, and the remains. And, we were thanking it as we were skinning it. And then he says, I wouldn't mind getting a deer, Uncle. And I said, well, let's go look. We went into a spot where I never seen a deer. I've been in there 6-7 times, never even seen a doe. And then we went in there and we took 2 bucks out of there. And, I asked him, I said, was that coincidence, or was it because you respected the animals that we dealt with this morning? Now you got something for yourself. And, he's like, wow, cool. And, it kind of reminded him of, respecting the animals. And, I'm glad to see that they're not the kind that, go out there and just for the heck of it. And they do things the proper way. And if you have a little extra, if he got, like, for example, he got 2 bucks. And he says, do you want one? I said, no, I have enough. And he says, okay, well, what should I do with the extra? I said, well, what do you think you should do? And he said, you clean it up and you go give it to an elder. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, there's somebody that can't get out anymore, you help them. That's why the animal stood there for you. And I said, I would take it, but, it's all good. And he went and gave that animal to an elder that couldn't get out that year for some reason. So it was good, and it's good to see them practicing that. We didn't go and just let it go to waste. And I told never be wasteful on that. If you can't, if something comes up and you can't deal with it, then pass it on to somebody that could use it, that can't get out anymore. In my uh, younger days, when I was first starting to hunt, you know, um, my uncle and my grandfather and my father always talked about, you show the animal respect. And when I started getting deer on my own, and my uncle and my grandfather, my uncle Herman and my grandfather Ben was always saying, "Cover the guts up, cover the guts up." And so for quite a while I was doing that. I asked my grandfather Ben, why do we have to cover the guts up? And he says, "So you just do it." Okay, yeah. So for years, and my uncle would say that too. My uncle Herman, even my aunties and uncles on my mom's side always talked about respecting the animals, and I'm like, okay. So I asked my uncle years later. I said, "Uncle, if I'm going to pass this teaching on, I'm going to have to know, why do we have to cover the guts up, and why do we have to bury the head upside down, facing down?" And my uncle kind of looks at me and he goes, "Well, if your friend, for example, if your friend passes away, are you just going to just step over him and carry on? Or are you going to show him respect and cover him up and give him a proper send off?" And I was kind of puzzled, and I was just like, "What do you?" I asked him. I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, in our teachings, it's the animal stood there long enough for you to take it, to feed your family, to feed yourself, to provide nourishment for whoever gets to enjoy it. So it stood there long enough for you to take it." And I was like, "Oh, so it deserves to be, treated with respect." He says, you cover the guts up and thank it. You get the blood in the rib cage after you open it up, and you thank the ground. You thank the grass. You thank the vegetation that animal is eating. And that way you're showing the ground respect, and you're showing the animal respect. And he says, once you start doing that, it'll be easier for you to get what you need. And I was just like, I said, back then there's quite a few deer around. I was just like, "Well, there's a lot of deer." He says, "Well, you're seeing them because you're doing it the right way. You're doing it respectful, so they're showing themselves, standing there for you." And after he shared why, just respect the animal. Everything has a spirit. He says, everything you harvest, the fish, the deer, whatever you're harvesting, the medicines, the plants, or whatever, you show it respect, and it'll be easier for you to find them in the future. And if you disrespect it, you'll have a tough time. You'll have a really tough time finding what you're looking for, if you disrespect that. Winter time, it's good to leave some of the remains, put it on a stump or in an opening for the eagles and ravens to feed on it, because those are really important birds in our lives and our spirituality and things like that. So, well, that's another thing that I used to get talking to about. It wasn't a classroom where you come in and then hear all this or read this and do a test after. It was just something that was shared all the time. Was when I was younger, I used to shoot. I was young, and I'd shoot does, yearlings, and my grandparents were happy that we had the meat. But I had 2 does hanging in a tree, and I think it was like January or February time of year. And my grandpa looks up in the tree and he goes, "Can I talk to you for a second?" Like, okay. And he brought me in and he goes, I'm really thankful for all the meat and I'm thankful for you learning. But, I'm going to tell you something. He says, if you shoot too many does and young ones out of your area, you're not going to have anything for the future. You'll have a hard time finding them. Just pick on the bucks and, leave them alone in the spring and summer. Leave them, if you really need to shoot an animal, yeah, don't do it too much, but pick on the bucks, leave the does and fawns alone. Those words really stick into my head. My daughter, one time she needed a deer for her mom's side of the family. They're having a gathering, so we went up and we seen about 8 or 9 does on this hill, and there's no bucks, and I checked them out. And the other thing my grandfather says, if you're gonna shoot a doe, wait till October, to December, and then after that, leave them alone, unless you really, really need it. So it was like October. I picked my daughter up at school, and she says, "Dad, my grandma needs some deer meat for a gathering." And I'm like, "All right." So we went looking, and all we saw was a group of does, about 8 or 9 does on the hill. And I said, "Well, that one's the one closest to the tree line's the biggest one. No yearlings around her." So she took it, did everything, thanked it, covered it up, all the respectful things. And we got it in the truck, and she goes, "Dad, I'm never going to shoot another doe again." I'm like, "Why?" I said, "It's an old doe, didn't have any fawns or anything, but no, I'm not going to shoot any more does, Dad." It made me feel really good, right? It was just like, wow, she's listening, she's paying attention, she's showing respect, and she's compassionate for the environment, for the resource that's there. And she goes, "Dad, I want to learn from your mistakes. When you used to go shoot everything when you were younger, I don't want to do that. I want to see deer up here all the time." So, that really made me feel good when she says, "Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore." And so it's nice to see, pass some of those stories down, some of that knowledge down to my daughter, and she's using it, and my nephew, recently right into utilizing what I share with them, and it makes me feel good. It's more than, it's better than a pot of gold, right? When I see that coming. Right at that moment, I think she was glad she could provide for the family. She was glad to provide for the gathering. But at the same time, I think she has her mind already set on bucks only. Another thing my grandfather said was, if you shoot too many does, what are you going to do? Because the does are the ones that replenish the hillside, your favorite area to hunt. So it's best not to shoot the females, because they're the ones that rejuvenate your area for the future. Some of the words I hear from some of our elders is, if there's not enough, leave them alone, no matter what it is. Just leave that area alone for a while, let it rebuild. Those are some of the teachings I hear to this day still. And it reminds me of the ones that shared words with me when I was younger. My advice to young people that want to start hunting is learn that word respect. Learn that word respect. Safety. Always think about safety. If you're using a gun, firearm, one of the things I was always talked to about was safety. And, it was like, once you send that bullet, once you fire that shot, you can't call that bullet back. Wherever that bullet's going is going to just destroy it, whatever it hits. Whether, you can't call it back. That's what they always said. And, always learn the safety first. And, respect and self-respect and respect the resources and take care of the resources. And it'll be around forever if everybody just looks after it.